God has given us a user's manual for how to have a successful relationship. A user's manual for how to live your life, and it's called the Bible. And so we need to go back to what God says in His Word, because He tells us how to have a marriage that will last a lifetime. To have a successful marriage, two things must happen. There must be a leaving and a cleaving. Remember that statement in the book of Genesis, for this cause shall a man leave his father and mother and be joined unto his wife, and the two shall become one flesh. Then we read later, and God called their name Adam. So God saw Adam and Eve as one person. And when a man and a woman come together in marriage, and they become one flesh in the sight of God. So now what you want to do is leave and cleave, and that's something you do for the rest of your life. First you leave. Leave what? You leave all other relationships. And by that I mean, I'm not saying you're no longer a son or a daughter to your parents or a sibling, but I'm saying now there's a number one relationship in your life, and that number one relationship is that with your spouse, who's bone of your bones and flesh of your flesh. So I leave all other relationships, and I make this my number one priority, second only to my relationship with God. Does that make sense? Number two, there's a cleaving. Now, the word cleave means to be permanently glued together. Actually, the word implies there'll be irreparable damage if the two are separated. So it doesn't mean I'm stuck to that person, but I'm glued to that person. Big difference. In other words, I'm holding on to the person. So I leave other relationships. I'm holding on to my wife or to my husband. Ephesians chapter 5, verse 31. For this reason, a man shall leave his father and mother and be joined to his wife, and the two shall become one flesh. This is a great mystery, but I speak concerning Christ and the church. Nevertheless, let each one of you in particular love his own wife as himself, and the wife see that she respects her husband. So much I can say. Let me just riff for a moment on those statements. If you would just do that, it would transform your marriage. Do what? Love your wife as Christ loves the church. If you would just do that, and by the way, that's a tall order. Men are the initiators. Men need to take point. Men need to lead spiritually. And men need to love their wife as Jesus loves his church, putting her needs above his own. You girls are saying, you preach it to my husband, Greg. Yeah, but girls, what does it say to you? Wives, respect your husband. Respect him. Isn't it interesting? It says respect him. Should you not love him? Yes, you're told to do that elsewhere. But in particular, it says respect. Women need love. Men need respect. That's not to say women don't need respect and men don't need love. But it is to say this passage says, husbands, love your wives. And it says, wives, respect your husband. Are you respecting your husband, girls? Don't ever tear your husband down in front of other people. Denigrate him. Make him the brunt of a joke. When's the last time you thanked him for what he does for you, the sacrifices he makes for you? And how are we to love our wives? Men, we're to love her as Christ loves the church. And how did Christ show his love for the church? He died on the cross for the church. He died on the cross for the world. He died on the cross for all of humanity. No greater love do we have than this, and a man laid down his life for his friends, and Jesus laid his life down for us, and he sacrificed his life for us so we could come into a relationship with him, and we could be forgiven of all of our sin. You know, it's an amazing thing. Of all of the illustrations God could have given us to show his love for humanity and to show how people who believe love him, he chose marriage. Love your wife as Christ loved the church. So Jesus is effectively saying, hey, world that doesn't believe, check this out. You see the way that Christian husband loves his wife? That's how much I love my church. Look at that example. And then he says, hey, people, look at that lady there, that married woman. You see how much she loves her husband? That's how much my church loves me. That's why it's so important to keep our marriages together, because it's a powerful witness to a lost world.